DreAllDay.com.
You're now tuned in to the show where you learn to discipline to show up day after day to do the work, confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, techniques, and mentalities, all under one unifying philosophy that is called work on your game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is when and how to fire yourself, when to kick yourself off of the job. And yes, there is a time to kick yourself off of the job. You should not be doing every single job. And actually, there are a bunch of jobs that you probably shouldn't be doing. Only a few jobs that you should be doing. All the rest of them, if you have them, you should be fired from. Now, before I get into this, let me tell everyone that I have a daily motivation text message that I send out every single day to anyone who would like to receive it. It's completely free of charge. All you have to do to raise your hand or let me know that you want it is to text me at the following number, which is 305-384-6894. Send me a text at that number. Every day you'll get my daily motivation text message straight to your phone, free of charge. It's like you would get any other text. A bonus to that text that you get from me is that is me that is sending that text, so you can actually respond to any of those text messages, and that is me you will be texting with. That is not a bot, that's not an assistant, that is me you are texting. So hit me at that number, 305-384-6894, to get the daily motivation text message. Now, this topic of when and how to fire yourself, I talked about this extensively back in episode 1303. The subject was CEO you and employee you. Because being a CEO, technically the CEO is a job. You can be fired from being a CEO. But I'm talking about the rank and file employee you and the CEO you, especially for those of you who are solopreneurs, where you are handling every task in your business. And at the beginning of doing any business, all of us have to do everything. If you start a business by yourself, you have to do everything literally when you first get started, unless you happen to be lucky enough to start with a partner. But as your business matures and as you mature in what you're doing, you will realize, hopefully very quickly, that there are certain roles that are just not fit for you, that you don't need to be doing. And once your business starts generating some revenue, you need to reinvest into your business by firing yourself and hiring other people, things, entities, applications, softwares, whatever, that can replace you in certain roles simply because you need to be fired from certain jobs. And today we're going to talk about which jobs you need to be fired from. Because what happens is a lot of solopreneurs make the mistake of trying to do every job themselves in perpetuity. Maybe at the beginning you got to do everything, like I just said. But the problem is, eventually you will realize, and once your business is mature enough for you to do something about this, you'll realize that you suck at several of the jobs that you're doing, not just one of the jobs. You probably suck at multiple jobs that you're doing right now, especially for you solopreneurs. And that is exactly the thing that is holding you back, that you suck at these jobs, yet you continue to do them. All right, that is a problem. And today we're going to make you aware of this problem. Now, what you actually do about this problem is really going to be more up to you than it is up to me, but I'm going to point it out for you. And if you want some help in doing something about this problem, I'm going to tell you where to go to actually get that help, where you get help directly from me and from other people who I have hand selected to help you help yourself. All right, so keep listening. I'll tell you how to do that in a moment. Point number one, the topic once again today is when and how to fire yourself. You need to be fired from a job. Let me tell you how to do it. Point number one. First of all, we must understand. Now let's get a mental foundation in place here. There is no excuse to not outsource help these days. It's 2022 when you are hearing this. And when any other time you hear it, if you hear it later than when it actually came out, it's going to be a year or later than that. All right, there's no excuse to not find somebody else that can help you out, or something else. It doesn't even have to be a person these days. Now we have what they call SaaS products, which stands for Software as a Service, SaaS. And sometimes you might need to hire some software to help you out. Instead of hiring a lawyer, there are companies that offer you basically a way you can crowdsource legal help. Instead of hiring a graphic designer, there are companies that will do graphic design for you. You just pay them a base monthly rate and they'll do all the graphic design that you want. So hiring or outsourcing, let's just say, does not necessarily mean a person. It can mean a service, it can mean software, but it shouldn't be you, especially when you know that you're not good at certain jobs. It's very easy to find help and to hire that help. Again, whether it's in the form of a human or in the form of a service. And the cost If that's the thing that's in your way, because usually it's even in my own mastermind programs when I'm talking to people about these very problems, usually the number one reason, and that is often is an excuse that is disguised as a reason that people use for not outsourcing, for doing everything on their own, even though they're not good at doing certain things. Their reason slash excuse is that it costs too much money. I'm not making that much money in my business. I can't afford to hire somebody else. I don't know, my business is not generating that much money I can hire anyone. I will as soon as I'm making the right type of money, and that's why I'm not doing it. I want you to understand something. This is kind of what they call the chicken and the egg problem, that you want to do thing B, but the reason you're not doing thing B is because thing A has not happened yet. So as soon as you do thing A, then you'll do thing B. The problem is, and this is how many people are thinking, but the problem is the reason you can't do thing A, i.e. make more money, is because you haven't yet done thing B. So most people who have this very problem that I just laid out here is that they think they need to do A first, then they can do B. When the actual thing is they need to reverse it. They need to do B first so that they can do A. But as long as this person has this mindset that A needs to come before B, then they're going to keep having the same problem. And therefore, the next 20 years will go by. They'll keep having the same problem, the same reason, the same excuse, and they will not get themselves or their business where they want it to be. And this is a tragedy. But the reason for all of you who are listening that this will not be a tragedy is because you're listening to this right now. And I'm going to tell you, as I told you at the end of this episode, I'm going to tell you how you can get help directly from me with this issue so that it is no longer an issue for you. So if you can hear my voice right now, it won't be a tragedy for you, but it will be a tragedy for people who are not listening. So if you know someone for whom you want to help them avoid tragedy, send them a link to this episode so that they don't make the same mistake that others are going to make. So that cost that people say, well, I can't afford to hire somebody or outsource or whatever the thing is they think or they're being told they need to do to help their business, that cost is an investment in your business. It's not a cost. See, a cost is something that you put it out and you never get anything back. If I go to the county fair and I buy some cotton candy, the cost of that cotton candy might be $7 or $9. It's a cost. It's not really producing any ROI for me. Maybe it's producing ROI. I could say it felt good to eat the cotton candy, but it's a cost. I'm not going to get anything tangible back from buying that cotton candy. But if I go and hire an employee and I pay them $9 or $19 or $39 an hour, what they are producing for my business is going to free up time for me. Number one, is going to, hopefully they're doing a job that I was doing and they can do it better than me, or at least just as well as me, or even close to as well as me, so that I can focus on the things that I'm great at, which is probably not that job, which is why I hired somebody else to do it in the first place. Is if I was great at it, I'll probably keep it for myself. And now I have more space to do the things I'm great at, which if I spend 20% more time in my day doing things that I'm great at as opposed to things that I'm mediocre at, shouldn't that just theoretically, shouldn't that eventually lead to me making more money in my business? You tell me. Theoretically, that should lead to eventually I'm going to make more money in my business. Why? Because I'm spending more time on doing the things that I'm actually great at as opposed to doing the things that I am merely mediocre at. And I told you let me tell you what episode that was. I got my microphone blocking my keyboard here, but I want to tell you that there are episodes where I told you that mediocre does not get paid for, folks. Okay, that was episode 352, way back in 2017. Nobody pays for mediocrity. So if you are mediocre at a certain skill, I want you to understand. I need you to not only logically hear me, but I want you to emotionally internalize this idea. And this is actually not an idea. This is a truth. Nobody will pay you for skills at which you are mediocre. If you are mediocre at a skill right now and somebody is paying you for that skill, I want you to get on your knees and pray to your God that you can continue to get paid for that. But also, once you get done praying and thanking your heavenly spirit, whatever God you pray to, when you get done thanking them for the fact that you're getting paid for a mediocre skill, you need to stand up and you need to go figure out what skill are you great at, because that mediocre payment that you're receiving right now is not going to keep coming. All right, eventually they're going to replace you with somebody who's actually good. So anything that you're mediocre at that you're getting paid for, it is not going to last. Do not bank on it. Okay, everybody follow me? So understand that investment that you're making, you might be calling it a cost of hiring someone or setting up a service or whatever. That is actually an investment, which is going to produce a return for you. All right, investing thinking and cost thinking are two different things. I've talked about investment in so many episodes of this show. I'm not going to list them all out, but I will tell you episode 1499. We talked about who is a positive investment in your life. In episode 609, which I've referenced on this show probably 100 times, the 5 forms of investment and how to use each one. Episode 916, I laid out Warren Buffett's 4 investment principles. And in episode number 1257, investing in your communication skills. And here's the one you need to listen to right now, episode 1403, how to reinvest in your business. And episode 1482, invest in your investments. So make sure you check all of those episodes where I talk about investment, because this is a mindset. Investing is a mindset. It is not about necessarily what you do. It is about what you do, but we all know the principle is be, do, have, right? So you get the mindset first, then the actions will immediately follow. They will naturally follow. And then of course the results follow. So you got to get the mindset of investing first, so that you stop looking at things as costs and look at them as what they actually are, which are investments. So let's turn that around. And I kind of stepped on this a minute ago. Every minute that you spend doing something that you are, let's say, merely mediocre at, you're average at, you're not amazing at it, because if you're in business for yourself, you're amazing at something. That's why you went into business for yourself, right? So any minute you spend doing something else that is not that amazing level skill, what are you doing? That's a minute that you are not focusing on your best skill, which means it is costing you money. So let's just look at this, put some numbers to it. Let's say that you're really great at, let's say, what business did you start? Let's say you started a coaching business and you're a great coach. So you started this coaching business and you're gonna have all these coaching clients. You're gonna make all this money being a coach. So your money skill is coaching. That's what you're really, really good at, is coaching. But you need a website, you need a logo, you need social media graphics. You wanna update your LinkedIn profile. So what do? You need to go make some graphics. So you're on Canva right now, or you bought Photoshop and you're trying to make a logo. Now, maybe you're okay at making logos. Maybe you're mediocre at it. So now you're spending, out of your 8-hour workday, you're spending 4 of those hours working on your logos and your graphic design, and 4 hours working on coaching. Now at coaching, let's just keep these numbers simple. Let's say your coaching ability is worth $100 an hour, because you're really just an amazing coach. So you're worth $100 an hour as a coach. Again, keeping the numbers basic. As a graphic designer, you're worth $10 an hour, because that's about how good you are. You're mediocre. We could even say you're worth $50 an hour. It doesn't matter. Either number, 10 or 50, both of them is less than 100. We can agree, right? Because you're better at coaching than you are at graphic design. So let's say you're even worth $50 an hour as a graphic designer. Every hour that you spend graphic designing instead of coaching, how much money are you losing? You are losing $50 an hour, because your coaching is worth 100, your graphic design is worth 50. So every hour you spend doing a $50 task instead of the $100 task, you are actually losing $50. Even though you got paid, you lost $50 because you would have made more money, opportunity cost, had you focused on the coaching. So what you need to do is not have a logo and not have a website or update a LinkedIn profile. You need to find someone else who can do the graphic design job, pay them the $50 instead of getting it for yourself. And the $50 that you pay them is making you $50, because now you can spend that hour on coaching, which you are great at, and you're making more money overall. So this is, again, I'm keeping the math really basic so you can understand that. But understand, every minute you spend not doing what you're great at, you are costing yourself money. Therefore, you need to fire yourself from those jobs. So if you're telling yourself that you can't afford to hire help or outsource help, I'm going to tell you that you can't afford not to hire help or outsource help, because it is costing you money. And I just gave you the arithmetic on how that is. Now in my Bulletproof Mastermind, I will help you out with this so that you can get, again, emotionally understanding this. All of you logically understand what I just said, but many of you don't understand it emotionally, even though you accept it logically. And that's really the thing that's holding you back. But we're not done. That was only point number 1. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is when and how to fire yourself at work. And all of us need to fire ourselves from certain tasks at work. It's just many of us are not cognizant of what they are. Number 2, I want you to name the 3 things that you do best in your business. Now I'm pausing there because I want to give you a second to think about it. I want you to name the 3 things that you do best at business. I mean, the 3 things that if you had to put a dollar amount on your ability to do everything that you do, you had to put a dollar amount on each one, what are the top 3 ROI things that you could charge money for? 1, 2, and 3. If you're doing a job, now that you have those written down, and this is a question that I asked in my mastermind a few weeks ago, and I had people answer this, and I'm glad that they answered it, because then anytime that they come to me, or they come on a call, or they post anything in the community, and they're talking about doing something that's not in their top 3, I will remind them, all right, why are you doing this task? Why are you asking about doing this thing when it's not one of your top 3 money skills? Why are you doing this? Why are you not focusing on the things that you're actually the best at, that you said it? I mean, I didn't come up with these. You said yourself, Your 3 best skills are 1, 2, 3. Why are you trying to do this thing that might be number 7 or number 12 or number 4 on your list? Anytime that you're doing a job that is not in your top 3 of money skills, that's what I call the money skills, your top 3 skills in terms of what you could charge money for. Number 1, you probably are not good at it, which means you're probably closer to sucking at it than you are being good at it. Number 2, you shouldn't be doing it in the first place, as I just explained. So anytime you're doing something that's outside of your top 3, it probably sucks, whatever you produce. And number 2, you shouldn't be doing it anyway. So it shouldn't suck because you should have never started it in the first place. Should have got somebody else who was better than you to do it. Or if you're going to have somebody mediocre do the job, at least get somebody to do it who that's the best they can do so that you can focus on your money skills, your number 1, 2, and 3. Maybe that's number 1 for them and their ceiling in life is mediocrity. That's not our business to figure out today. But we know your ceiling is not mediocrity, but it is when you're focusing on mediocre skills. If you focus on your mediocre skills, then your ceiling is mediocrity. If you focus on your money skills, then your ceiling is money, whatever that amount of money happens to be. I told you all, any of you who has listened to this show for some time, you heard me talk about my background. Before I played basketball, which I ended up becoming a professional at, I played baseball. And at baseball, I realized that my ceiling was mediocrity. If I had kept playing baseball, I would have been a mediocre baseball player. Maybe I would have made my high school team and been mediocre. I would not have played in college. And if I did, I would have been sitting on the bench. And that would have been the end of my athletic career. I could have taken that route, but I was smart enough, luckily, to realize the extent of my own mediocrity at baseball. I chose a different sport, which is basketball, in which I had a higher ceiling and I was able to do more in basketball, simply because I was able to recognize my own mediocrity. So you have to be able to look at yourself and realize where you're mediocre, be honest with yourself about your lack of potential in certain aspects, and focus on the areas where you have a higher level of potential, where your ceiling is higher. And let me give you a hint, everybody. There's a reason why I asked you for your top 3. You do not have to be great at everything. You do not have to have a high ceiling at 20 things. You need to have a high ceiling literally at 1 thing. If you have a high ceiling at 1 thing, you can be amazing and take care of yourself, your family, and make an impact on the world with just that 1. I'm giving you leeway by giving you 3. Doesn't have to be 3. It can be 1, it can be 2, but no more than 3. So do not do anything that's outside of this top 3. And if you are doing anything outside the top 3, you should be strategizing and planning and plotting for how to get those other things off of your plate. This is what a professional does, everybody. Professionals professionalize what they do. They professionalize their business. I did an episode on professionalizing your business. That was episode number 1310. How to professionalize your business. If you have not listened to that, it is linked down below in the show notes. And by the way, if you go to workonyourgamepodcast.com, that is where you can see every episode in the history of the show is all there, all listed right there on that page. You can listen to every episode. I also put a list of the archive there so you can actually search through the archives for any topic or any subject, and you can listen to every episode right there, just in case if you ever click on a link and it doesn't come up, or something is missing, or I mentioned an episode and is not posted down below in the show notes. Workonyourgamepodcast.com has every episode in the history of the show all right there on that page. You listen to anything that I've ever put out right there on that page, just in case anybody didn't know. So be a professional and professionalize your business. The way that you do this is by putting the right people in the right places. And when I say people, that includes yourself. You do not belong in every place in your business, even though you might be the boss, even though you might be the person who started it. Being the boss does not mean do everything forever. All right, that is not what being a boss means. Also, a note, when you know the right people, when you are connected to the right people, you have relationships with the right people, you do not always need money in order to get a job done. Do you understand that? Because many solopreneurs, people who are out here riding solo, when you tell them or say to them or ask them, hey, why are you doing this job that you're not good at? It's not in your top 3. Often their response is, as I just told you, or excuse is, well, I don't have the money to hire anybody. Well, one of the reasons why many solopreneurs are in this position where they feel like they need money in order to offload a task is because they don't know anybody. They don't have any connections. They don't have any relationships. So the only way they can get anyone else to cooperate with them is by giving them money. But understand, when you have a relationship with somebody, you don't always have to give them money to get them to do something for you. Because you can offer them something, they can offer you something. No money needs to be exchanged, but you can exchange services. You can exchange goods. You can exchange ideas. You can exchange information. You can exchange time, and you can get something done through another person without having to exchange money at all. But you have to have the right relationships in order to do that. Nobody's going to do that for you just off the street just because. Most of the time, they're not. So this is why relationships matter so much. You can replace money with a relationship. When you know the right person, you can make a phone call, send a text, send an email, and get something done. You don't have to pay anybody anything. And someone can use you to do the exact same thing. So many of you are held back by this idea of, I can't afford it. But understand, in places like my Bulletproof Mastermind, just as an example, there's a lot of trade for happening. So somebody says, okay, well, you need this skill. Well, you have something that I need. So if you can give me this, person X, I will give you this. That's person Y talking. They exchange services. Nobody has to pay anybody, and everybody wins in that situation. And the only reason that happens is because the relationship is there, because we're all part of the same group. But if you're not in any groups, if you don't know anybody, if you're not connected to anybody, then you're right. You do need money to make things happen. But at the same time, I already explained to you how the money is actually a good investment anyway, because it's going to help you make money one way or another. But what if you started combining all these together? What kind of power would you have? How many things could you get done? How many options do you give yourself? So this happens all the time amongst groups of connected people. And many of you use this all the time, and you call it networking. What is networking? It means having the right connections with the right people and the right relationships, and leveraging those relationships and allowing yourself to be leveraged as part of those relationships. So you're not just using other people, you are allowing other people to use you, but in a positive way, not in a negative way, in a good way. So do you have a network is my question. And if you don't have a network, why don't you have a network? If you're listening to this show and you don't have a network, I'm telling you what a network is. It's called the Bulletproof Mastermind. I put it together. I am active in it. I'm in it every single day. I do the live trainings. I connect to people. Why do you not have a network, but you're listening to this show every single day? The guy who has the show is telling you about the network you can be in. All right, the link is down below in the show notes, by the way, if you didn't know. But we're not done. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is when and how to fire yourself from certain jobs. And many of you need to fire yourselves from a lot of jobs all at once. Number 3, every minute you spend not doing one of your top 3 is bleeding yourself, your business, and your family of wealth and opportunity. I'm pausing there to let that one sink in. I want to say it again. Every minute that you spend not doing one of your top 3 money skills is bleeding yourself, your business, and your family of wealth and opportunity. Why? Because you are not focused in your zone of genius. Even if you never heard that phrase, you understand what zone of genius means. It means the things that you're great at, not okay at, not you could be good at it, not you can kind of learn how to do it, not you watch some YouTube video tutorials on how to do it. I mean things that you're actually great at, and people would pay a premium to have you help them with. That's your zone of genius. And again, no more than 3 things are you a genius at. Most people are not a genius at more than one thing, at least at a time, at the same time. So I'm giving you leeway by telling you 3. All right, you are not a genius at 7 things, but why are you doing 7 things at your job right now? Time is your most valuable resource. Use it effectively. And if you look at the way that you use your time every single day at work, you will realize how much of it you are wasting. In one of Napoleon Hill's lectures, Napoleon being the author of Think and Grow Rich and one of my favorite books called The Law of Success, he talks about that. If you were to just take track of how you use your time every single day, you'll realize that you are just not very efficient in the use of your time. So any of you who feels like you never have time, and I work with a lot of high-level professionals, high-achieving individuals, ambitious people who are always looking to do more, achieve more, do more, all of them always talk about how they don't have a lot of time. One of the reasons that you don't have a lot of time is because you are inefficient with the time that you do have. And we all got the same amount, 24 hours in a day. So it's the inefficiencies in how you're using your time is the actual problem. Not the fact you don't have time, is that you're being inefficient with your time. But we can fix all of that. All right? All of that can be fixed. I'm not pointing these things out to make you feel like shit. Maybe you feel like shit temporarily, but we're going to fix that shit. Okay, that's the thing. I'm not going to leave you hanging feeling like shit. I'm going to tell you how we can fix it, what we can do next. So time is your most valuable resource. You must learn how to use it effectively and stop using it inefficiently. Any task that is taking you away from your top 3, in the words of Donald Trump, you are fired. He didn't say you are. He would say you're fired. All that said, let's recap today's class, which is when and how to fire yourself. Many solopreneurs make the mistake trying to do every job yourself. The problem is you suck at many of the jobs that you're doing. That's exactly what's holding you back. So let's fix it. Number 1, There is no excuse not to outsource help these days. The cost, quote unquote, of outsourcing is actually an investment. You need to change your mindset around cost and investment. You cannot afford not to do this. Number 2, name the 3 things you do best for your business. If you're doing a job that is not in that top 3, you're probably bad at it, and you shouldn't be doing it in the first place. Be a professional. Professionalize your business by putting the right people in the right places. That includes removing the wrong people from the right places, including yourself. Any of you who is thinking, I can't afford it, you can't not afford it, as I just said, but in my Bulletproof Mastermind, I will help you find the right people who can connect you to the right skills, and it might not even cost you money. Many of you call this networking. Oh, you like having a network, right? Point number 3. Every minute you spend not doing one of your top 3, you're bleeding yourself, your business, and your family of wealth and opportunity. I'm going to use that as a headline, probably to get you into the Bulletproof Mastermind, those of you who are on the fence. Because you are not focused on your zone of genius. Time is your most valuable resource. Learn to use it effectively. Anything that's taking you away from your top 3, in the famous words of Donald Trump, you're fired. Now, you want to get my daily motivation text, hit me at my number 305-384-6894 every single day to get the daily motivation. And you want to make those connections, build that network, get around the right type of people, join my Bulletproof Mastermind by going to workonyourgameuniversity.com. The link is down there to join the mastermind at Bulletproof Mastermind. That's where you can make those connections, build with the right people, and get the connections that you need. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre all day.